So good evening once again. Welcome back to this webinar series.
Good
So
evening.
today we have a very interesting topic for discussion. We are all worried about COVID. I am sure more than COVID, many will be more worried than what next, what after COVID. So then we thought of taking this topic that the road ahead, okay, after the COVID-19 episode, which is believed to be a nightmare today. So for today's discussion, we have people who are legendary figures in their own fields, representing homeopathy and integrative medicine, Dr. Isaac Mathai, the CMD of Saukya International Chain of Holistic Health Centers. We have Dr. G. Shivaraman, who is a legendary figure in particularly in the field of Siddha medicine, and he is the managing director and chief Siddha physician at Arogya Healthcare from Chennai. Little later, we will be joined by Dr. G.G. Gangadharan, who is the director at MS Ramaya's exclusive Center for Ayush in Bengaluru. So today's whole webinar, we would like to start with a small video which gives a depiction of the process of integration which was brought in last year in the form of World Assembly of Ayurveda Yoga and Naturopathy and Ayur Yoga. I request the organizers to play the video, please. So I'm sure all of you have had a glimpse of what is there for all of you in October, provided life is back to normalcy. Okay, so we hope that we'll all be back to normal activities. And here we have the chairman of India Exposition Mart, Sri Rakesh Kumarji, who is responsible for this whole activity, which was done last year. The video you saw was of last year, and it will be much bigger in the coming year, this year. So with this, I invite Rakesh ji for this seminar and webinar, basically to take the leads forward from the experts. For today's webinar, we have, as I mentioned, three experts, Dr. Isaac Mathai, Dr. Shivaraman, and Dr. Gigi Gangadharan, representing homeopathy, Siddha medicine, and Ayurveda. So I would like to open today's whole discussion, posing few questions as a kind of an opinion raising exercise to our experts, whereby we will start a basic discussion first, followed by lot of dialoguing, taking questions from various people around. So the basic question we always started this whole webinar was not just to ask what can we do during the time of COVID, but also to give a direction. So Indian system are so strong and rich in their tradition as well as in their methodologies. These things were probably spoken thousands of years back. The purpose of today's webinar is, of course, to understand the whole issue related to COVID, but we want to move a little forward in asking this question, life after the nightmare, this nightmare, COVID-19. So I wanted to pose the following questions to all of you, which you can answer subsequently later after your opinion. So we have gone through a phase now. So the first question is, have we learned our lessons to move forward? Okay, so how far we have actually picked those lessons which are most essential to move forward is the number one question. Number two, to move forward, what kind of healthcare measures are needed today? Okay, in a country like India with such a big rural population, what kind of health measures are needed? Question number three, though there was an opportunity for Ayush systems to come in front to deliver, and many Ayush systems have tried doing something extraordinary whenever there was an opportunity given. Do we think that this is an opportunity lost or missed for mainstreaming Ayush systems? Is the third question. And number four is COVID the tip of an iceberg? So is there something big awaiting, bigger than COVID? So with this, I invite the first panelist, Dr. Isaac Mathai. Isaac Mathai, he's a legendary figure. And in a very brief note, if I want to introduce him, as I said, he is the CMD of Saukya International Holistic Health Center, a homeopath by profession, but greatest promoter of integrative medicine. He is based in Bengaluru, but his clientele is across the world. He treats a common man at Saukya at Sahaya Hospital more as a charity to treating greatest celebrities like Prince Charles on the other extreme. And in between, he has established a setup for treating little more than 40,000 people in a rural setting. He is a very vocal person as far as integrative medicine is concerned, equally humble person. He has set new standards for Ayush-based treatment delivery with respect to therapies. Though your roots are in homeopathy, Dr. Isaac Mathai, you have been a holistic health practitioner, recently treated Prince Charles for COVID and guided government of Kerala, Karnataka, and also government of India during these several occasions. It's our privilege to listen from you the road ahead for us. Dr. Isaac Mathai.
Thank you. Namaskar, Dr. Manjunath and other panelists. Very happy to be here in this evening. And as you mentioned that even if I am a practicing homeopathic doctor, but I practicing longer than homeopathy yoga and teaching yoga, even from India to England to everywhere. So I would start with yoga and homeopathy, and the later stage I incorporated in my practice or our center, Ayurveda, naturopathy, therapeutic yoga, and other systems. And I'm a great believer and supporter for all the systems of medicine, Siddha and Unani, which I'm not using at the moment, but that's also part of our Ayush. So when I talk, not talking from the homeopathic perspective that I can mention, but I'm talking from a very Ayush and holistic perspective. When I look at your questions, I would say that the present global medical scene is focused on diseases. It's a disease-oriented approach. Instead of healthcare, is a disease care. So the focus became that over a period of time. I would blame for the Western medical approach and Western medicine going from a humanistic medicine into a trade or industry. So when you do an industry, you look at only on the financial benefit by the end of the day, not how many patients you have cured and how many people you helped and how many people you can do good for. But if you look at the ancient medicine, whether it's Ayurveda, yoga, everything is focused mainly on how many people you can help. Even in my childhood, Ayurveda doctors never even asked for a consultation fee. Even my mother, being a homeopathy doctor for 50 plus years, they never took any consultation fee. They managed. Even I remember that people come to your mother and give you eggs rather than money. So that was a real exchange for your service. But now things have changed very fast in the last 30, 40 years. So we need to refocus on the health-oriented approach. That I would say that all the Ayurvedic systems are equally good at that. But if you look at the yoga and everything as a lifestyle, or Ayurvedic day-to-day Dinacharya is a lifestyle which can do much more than any amount of medicine you can buy or equipments you can buy, which is improve your health or deal with your treatment. So that is one, I believe that India can do a lot on showing to the world. And fortunately, I would say after 70 years of independence, our Honorable Prime Minister is taking a huge lead and huge leadership in this field. And I would say at the moment, if Ayush is getting any attention nationally and globally, starting from the Yoga Day to everything, it is only because of Prime Minister and his leadership. So I am very, very grateful for that leadership and that which Manjunath and Guruji is very, very aware, and you are a part of that team. So congratulations for that. So my point is, next is what is the future? Is an opportunity. I don't want to use the opportunity. It is our time of a mission to tell the world and tell India that along with the best of the best Western medical interventions, which India is very good at it, we have the wealth of knowledge from all the systems of medicine. So we have an opportunity now, when you look at an opportunity, that COVID, there is no particular treatment from the Western medicine. There are immune boosting medicine in Ayurveda, immune boosting medicine in homeopathy, in Siddha and Unani. Use that is already government is allowed to use or agree to use. That's an opportunity. That I believe, even if there is no proper studies came out, it has a positive effect. Over thousands of people I have given positive effect. But now we are allowed or started to move forward with the research project, whether it's a proper breathing exercise to a medicine, to a herbal medicine or a homeopathic medicine. So we will, through the proper research, we can prove and show that it has an impact on positive cases and prevent patients from getting into a complicated stage and a death. That we can prevent. We are giving a big gift for the humanity. India can do that. I believe we can do that. I hope that next few weeks' time we'll be able to come out with some indications or some scientifically validated results. So that is the future forward. So I think I covered all your questions. So the COVID, yes, we can help, and I strongly believe, and I have treated positive cases in America, to Europe, to India, and it is a flu. Very simple procedures are enough. But then we are not looking forward for another flu to come to have an opportunity. No, we should refocus on a health-oriented practices, from the breathing to yoga to Ayurveda, Dinacharya to any medication from Siddha Unani or Ayurveda and Siddha Unani. That is our future, and Ayush together should provide for the future. Thank you.
Wonderful, Dr. Mathai. Certainly, I was looking at your precise message that more than an opportunity or anything, we are on a mission. So I agree with you, because it has to be on a mission mode rather than picking up small little available opportunities. But at the same time, something like COVID, when conventional medical practitioners themselves are trying to work out on line of treatment, probably that's where Ayush systems have something bigger to contribute. Because otherwise, you always have this question which will be asked to you, that where is the evidence? Okay, so evidence-based approach is what actually something goes beyond our Ayush systems. But I totally agree with you. We will take up various discussions immediately after listening to Dr. Shivaraman. So let me give a very brief note of Dr. Shivaraman, who is the Managing Director and Chief Siddha Physician at Arogya Healthcare in Tamil Nadu. He has completed a BSMS and a PhD from Tamil Nadu. And he's a very hardcore traditional Siddha practitioner. That's what I was told. Okay. But at the same time, he is the one who believes that evidence-based approach is the future. Very, very wonderful to see somebody like you, Dr. Shivaraman. In a way, he is actually the voice of Siddha medicine, okay, across the country, along with a couple of other senior practitioners and senior people. He also serves Government of India as well as Government of Tamil Nadu at different levels as an advisor in various committees, etc., to guide through in healthcare. And he has played a very crucial role in introducing a Siddha-based decoction as a preventive measure across Tamil Nadu as part of the Government of Tamil Nadu initiative as a preventive measure in the management of COVID-19. That's something amazing. I want to hear those stories from you, Dr. Shivaraman. So I want to, I have already posed the 4 questions, but I would like to ask you one very simple question. How bright you think the road ahead for us?
Share the views with, can you hear?
Yeah, we can hear.
Yeah, it's really a nice opportunity to be a panelist with the legendaries like Dr. Mathai, Dr. Manjunath, yourself, as well as the Dr. Gangadharan. And you had given a few beautiful landmark questions. So I would like to give my point of view based on Siddha and based on Ayush experiences. The first one, whether you asked whether we learned some lesson on that. Yeah, we certainly learned a lesson. The entire world actually looking at Mathai also had clearly told, they are all concentrating on illness. That now the entire in the COVID lockdown period and the curfew period, the entire thought process is going from illness to wellness. So basically the key gadget word is actually immunity. If one can have a innate immune system or best adaptive immune system, he can able to cater whatever, whether it is a non-communicable diseases or communicable infectious diseases. So the entire world had actually, entire world as well as Ayush also got a good lesson from that. Second one, what is the need for Ayush? What is actually the opportunity, or what is the need of the hour for Ayush? If you think, I would like to tell, this is actually, we have to concentrate on evidence-based research. This is very, very important. And when you rightly said, when I actually almost as a fight with the government to introduce for a prophylaxis, they said that don't use the word prophylaxis. You have to tell only immune enhancement. Like that, every word when we want to claim, they want some evidence. If it is a prophylaxis, you should undergo a vaccine-like trial and all other things. You don't have that such a trial for exclusively for the novel SARS-CoV-2. So you can tell, let's say it's a general immune enhancer, so that the entire other rest of the world other than Ayush expect us from evidence. So we need to concentrate this time about the how best we can do the research, whether from homeopathy or in Ayurveda or in yoga. We have to go with that. In that, I would like to again have a thought on reverse pharmacology. Usually the legendary physician, Dr. Ashok Vaidya, usually told about the word reverse pharmacology. We have to take the dispassionate lead from the clinical experiences. When the physicians like Gangadharan, like Mathai, when they told, we had a beautiful set of success stories. When it is we have a success story, then we have to work it on reverse level. After that, we have to find out what is the pathway behind. We can definitely tell with the Ayurvedic or Siddha philosophical, whether even if you take in a COVID-19, we all think about it is a Kapavada disease. So to regulate the Pitta, or in the early stage, we have to increase the Pitta. This language, this kind of explanation can accepted by the Ayush people. When we want to tell this, our efficacy, our Ayush efficacy, we have to tell the language of Western science. So for that, I strongly suppose we have to concentrate on reverse pharmacology. This is one of the very, very important area I would like to tell. Even in that, you know very well about the need for the therapeutic vaccine. Therapeutic vaccine is actually even last 3-4 days before Dr. Bhushan Badwartan also told about the importance of ashwagandha as a therapeutic vaccine in an Ayurveda. Like that, we have many simple herbs as well as a good formulation. I can say in Siddha medicine also, we have some classical Siddha medicine with a combination of simple herbs which can be used as a Kalpa medicine, whatever indicated as a Kalpa in Kapavata disease. Kalpa medicine in non-communicable diseases, we can take the lead from that, and we have to work it on the therapeutic vaccine model. This is very, very essential. So I would like to tell, in the Ayush intervention, in the post scenario, we have to concentrate. One is in the reverse pharmacological approach to find out some medicine. And one thing I would like to emphasize here, there is a lot of research inferences are coming. There is a chance for the reinfection. Even in, if you take the the Spanish flu of 1918. In 1918 and 1919 and 1920, all these 3 years, the death and the mortality are more in the reinfection period. The earlier in the 1918, when Bombay first got the infection from the French ports and French warriors and the First World War warriors, when 1918, the amount of mortality is not much. When after the November, December of 1918, when second infection comes, the large number of mortality India faced. So we have to keep it in our mind. Even in SARS-CoV-2, the reinfection is occurring in South Korea and China also. They are all now telling about the reinfection. In that case, we need a long-term medication. What like tuberculosis, how we are treating with medication even after if you get an infection for a longer period. Sometimes Indians may require a longer period of medication. Simple medication may require. We have to be prepared for that. When we want to position some particular medicine for post-COVID period, we have to come up with the evidence-based inferences. This is also one of the very important point we have to know. So another important lead I would like to tell, take the inferences from the Yu Yu Thun. In 2016, when she got a Nobel laureate, we can go and see the Nobel laureate lecture of Professor Yu Yu Thun. She's a Chinese lady who had worked from a simple decoction which has been used for fever with rigor in 1955, 60s at the time. So she worked at least for 30 to 35 years continuously, and she had developed the molecule called artemisinin. That artemisinin saved nearly 25 million people in around the globe, and she take the dispassionate lead from the Chinese traditional medicine. Even in the case of Spanish flu, when you take the whole world, in the European context and the American context and the Indian context, China at the time, they don't have much development. It's an underdeveloping country at the time. At the time, the English people, the English sanitary officers, they are telling that even 1 year before also one paper came, they told China has a very, very minimal mortality because of they constantly use the traditional Chinese medicine during that period also. And even now, if you go and see the clinicaltrials.gov, they are doing 51 clinical trials in COVID management and TCM. And 8 trials without naming as a traditional Chinese medicine, they put it as other non-allopathic medication. Might be that is also maybe a herbal medicine taken from the traditional Chinese medicine. If you see in the Indian context, we didn't, right now we are not having not even one single RCCT of clinical trials. So wherever we go and fight with the policy makers, and whether in the central government or state government, though we have the passion and though we have the long experiences, though we have empirical evidences, they are all asking, what is the evidence? Do you have the RCCT study? Do you have the acute toxicity studies? Do you have any clinical evidence? That question we need to answer, because what I would like to infer, the post-COVID area, we have to concentrate on therapeutic vaccine and antiviral formulation with this traditional Ayush medication. This both we have to concentrate. And third important point, we have to educate our people to the importance of the wellness. So the last 15-20 years, the entire Ayush community concentrated only on mostly on the non-communicable diseases, because chronic patients they used to see for diabetes and hypertension and cardiac disease and cancers, we concentrated. Now, this is the lesson what we had learned. We have to concentrate on infectious diseases also. Maybe our, even today morning, if you go and see the today morning publication, the Remdesivir, which is a promising drug for COVID management, the publication little disappointed the many scientific community, because Remdesivir didn't give a much major benefit in certain area of that cytokine storm and some pulmonary thing. So at the time, what we see, really, it is really a big fear to the scientific community. So what we have to think, the Ayush researchers, Ayush physicians should work on the how to approach the infectious diseases, either to improve the innate immune system or to improve the adaptive immune system. How best we can able to provide the drug for the these kind of viral drugs. So we would like to concentrate on that also. These are all my preliminary answers for you, Manjunath sir. Thank you.
No, wonderful. Certainly, we are in tune with you because the process has to change from illness to wellness. Okay, because today there are millions of people who are probably exposed to this virus, but they are still safe. Nothing has happened to them. The simple measure which anybody can talk about is what you said, is their innate immunity. Okay. So the question also comes to the next level, that is a vaccination a solution, as you ended your talk by saying that. And reverse pharmacology is definitely, as the legendary Ashok Vaidyaji has been talking for years.
For a long time.
For a long time. I think that has to be the futuristic way of looking at. Before we move on, so 2 physicians we heard, okay, so Dr. Isaac Mathai and Dr. Shivaraman, Dr. G.G. Gangadharan will be joining us soon. There is one person who watches everything and really gives a very comprehensive overview. He is our Rakesh Kumarji, who is the chairman of India Exposition Mart. So when we had the first discussion that why do we need to have these kind of webinars? There's so many webinars and so many talks going on everywhere. Is it going to be yet another webinar, or is it going to be something different? Then Rakesh ji said, Manjunath ji, in my life I have followed one thing. Anything we do, so it has to make an impact. So if we are taking up a webinar, it has to be an impact-making webinar. So as you can see, the number of participants are all high professionals, and they are all top leaders in different fields. So these are not just students and others. So that's the kind of attraction what Rakesh ji makes. And I would like to listen from Rakesh ji, what actually made you to pull healthcare professionals at this point of time through this webinar, particularly giving a direction for futuristic options available for us. Rakesh ji.
Thank you so much, Dr. Manjunath, and good evening. Namaskar to all dignitaries and participants. Friends, the phase 3 of the lockdown will kickstart from May 4 due to COVID-19 pandemic. However, the maximum part of the country is now in working mode. This is good for all of us. On the same line, today, the major issue is because there's a more than pandemic, there's a fear of pandemic in the mind of the people. So because there's no medicine, there's no vaccine, there's no actual way of able to get any safeguard from that. So this is a high time when people need some directions. People are getting some information from here and there. But I think this is a high time when people, those have particularly eminent person, like Dr. Mathai, Dr. K. Manjunath, Dr. Srinivasan, Dr. Gangadharan, and many others who have spent their years in this particular field and have already done a lot of scientific researches for the humanity, for the mankind. I think their researches need to be shared with the people at large, the public at large. And that is the only hope by which people can come to know that what is to be done. I'll just tell you a very simple example. My wife, just from the day one, started cooking one kada. And that recipe she got from one of the site of the Ayush and one of the TV interviews. And the very next morning, she prepared that entire energy drink. And now from that day till now, every day we are taking that drink. And that is a kind of a immunity tonic we consider. So every household is now looking for something because they are looking for the direction from the experts like you. There are many people in the audience, and they are not just the general public. They are all very senior people, person from the fraternity. We have with us Brent Boyer, MD, Mayo Clinic. We have with us Dr. Guru Datta, Anand Maya Wellness Center, Dr. Shyam Nimba, Nature Cure, Dr. Shri Krishna, Shankush Natural Health, Bharti Patil, Yoga 360 Frankfurt, Dr. Kadam, KK Herbal Industries, Vinita Negi ji, CCRAS, Government of India, Dr. Naveen GS from JSS Hospital, Dr. Abhishek from Nisar Gopachar Ashram Pune, Dr. M. Majid from Mux Remedies, also from Hamdard Laboratories and Chetan Halbar and many others. So the only issue through this brainstorming session is that which is being moderated very well by Dr. Manjunath, that we have to find some solution and we have to pass on to the people. I agree with Dr. Mathai that through Ayush, our Ayurveda, Yoga, Siddha, Unani, we are giving the biggest gift to humanity. And same with Mr. Srinivasan, what he specifically mentioned, that illness to wellness practices are ultimately the message. And this message is very clear and loud to all of you, all of us. I think immunity enhancement is the only way of life now in this time of the COVID or post-COVID scenario. So these are just my point. I am not a technical expert, but definitely I started learning and started knowing at very late stage of my life about the this traditional way of life, traditional medicines and Ayurveda and Ayush. So Dr. Manjunath, I think please continue the session.
Thank you, Rakesh ji. I mean, we totally agree with you that a platform like this is also essential, and bringing people together is the need of the hour, and you are doing it. Thanks, really big thanks for you. I'm happy to welcome Dr. G.G. Gangadharan on board. Dr. Gigi has, I think, just completed his meeting with Government of India. He gives his technical advice for several areas in the government. Do we have Dr. Gigi, sir, on video here? Okay, so meanwhile, as Dr. Gigi is joining us, there are many questions pouring in. So one question directly, there are at least around 12 of them asking the same question to Dr. Isaac Mathai. So what was your experience with Prince Charles?
You know that in a public forum, we cannot, none of the doctors can talk about a patient, especially a famous patient. The truth is, as he took homeopathic medicine as a immune boosting medicine. I was in London and I met him in the palace. I regularly meet him. He came and stayed in Saukya in November last year. His wife stayed about 6-7 times. And in Saukya, he does Ayurveda, homeopathy, naturopathy, and yoga. I would say better than most of us. Okay. And he got the benefited, and he is a great believer in all the systems and great promoter, and he is a patron of the Faculty of Homeopathy and great supporter of Ayush, and College of Medicine is initiated where Dr. Manjunath also came over. So he did. But unfortunately, when the minister, I had a private conversation with the minister and to inform the Prime Minister that this is what's happening. When minister openly told the public, in the British political and complicated world, it is not that easy for them to say that, yes, we did it. So instead of that, diplomatically, after discuss with me, they said, we didn't do Ayurveda for COVID, not for Ayurveda, but under NHS. Actually, homeopathy is under NHS. So what they said is correct. But those who read the public, they may think that, oh, he didn't do anything. No, they are very diplomatic and correct in what they say. So they said it's the correct thing. He did Ayurveda before when he came to Bangalore in Saukya, but for a COVID, he didn't do Ayurveda. That's true. But homeopathy as an immune boosting, he got benefited. And you know what happened with the Prime Minister. Even I offered through an MP, said that we are willing to treat him with homeopathic medicine parallel to what they do in the hospital. But because of, again, it is not the individuals, it is not the Prime Minister, it is the system behind them. They won't allow. Fortunately, we have a Prime Minister who is so courageous and supportive. Otherwise, our Prime Minister also won't open our mouth. 70 years, nobody opened their mouth for Ayush. So we are lucky now. We are providing this. Anyway, going away from that question, I would like Dr. Manjunath, if you can explain to our people about what is in the Government of India side, the task force by government is formed the task force, and what are the activities happening? Because a lot of people may be interested to know more about the good work is happening from the Ayush Ministry and the task force. That is one thing. Second is point I want to emphasize that it is, again, we all, Dr. Shivaraman and all of us talking the same thing. More than opportunity, this lifestyle modification, like what happened with your yoga. World over, yoga, I don't think anybody made money out of yoga. And India said, Prime Minister once said that if you are a patented, then India could have made billions of dollars. Including Shasa, I don't think after all the popularity, you didn't make much money out of yoga. That is our India. That's the way we are. But in Ayush and other system, I don't think we should be foolish. We should patent it and we should properly scientific evidences. It is an opportunity like China, they are already doing it, to export our knowledge and our medicines and our herbs and our combination after scientific validation to the world. World is ready for us. So we need to act together and make it happen. That is an opportunity actually, is more than money-making opportunity, I would say, is opportunity to again serve the world and help the world.
Certainly agree, Dr. Mathai. Of course, before I give any thoughts of what is happening with the task force and Government of India, what are the futuristic thoughts to take it forward. Meanwhile, since Dr. Shivaraman has to leave a little earlier than the complete session, there are few questions I would like to pose it to Dr. Shivaraman, which many of the participants are asking. One question I myself had with respect to lots of publications coming on this Kudineer Churnam. Okay, so Kudineer Churnam and particularly the Kabasura Kudineer Churnam, which the anti-inflammatory, antipyretic and antibacterial effects of them have already been published. Okay, so I was seeing lots of publications in the similar domain. So would like to, and there were many people asking, are there any evidences for the use of Siddha medicine in the case of viral infection and bacterial infection? So I tried connecting what my interest was also. So you can tell us about some of these interventions. You have to unmute yourself, Dr. Shiva.
Sorry. Yeah. When government in the task force, they asked about any traditional intervention can be given just to improve the immune enhancement. We had developed we had had a discussion with our own teammates, and we recommended two decoction. One is called Kabasura Kudineer. Another one is the old one, Nilavembu Kudineer. Both how we had selected from the basically from experiences as well as from the literature evidences. In the literature, the Kabasura Kudineer is indicated for Kabasuram, which is previously we had treated, we had compared that Kabasuram exclusively as a viral pneumonia disease, because most of the symptoms which mentioned in the Kabasuram, that Kabasuram is actually Kabasura Padal, that verse is from a classical Siddha literature called Yugi Vaidya Sindhamani. In that, they described the disease as a disease with high fever and sore throat, cold, coryza, chest congestion, wheezing, breathing trouble, as well as distaste. They had given all the signs. If you are not treating the disease with 5 or 6 days with proper medication, that disease converted into Abanyasa Sanni. There is in the Abanyasa Sanni, usually all the three dosha will get disturbed. So that if the Abanyasa Sanni is a very tough to treat the disease. So this is the classical literature we found. And usually we select the Kabasuram. We compared with all viral pneumonia. Usually people come with the pneumonic fever or bronchitis with the pneumonia, or post-pneumonia, pneumonic consolidation with chest congestion, we used to give the medicine. When we closely look to all the formula of the Kabasura Kudineer, there are 15 herbs. In the 15 herbs, around 11 herbs is actually having antiviral activity for few other viruses, not with corona. For example, they have dry ginger. It is having Andrographis paniculata. It has Adadoda vesica. It has Sisapellus pereira. Sisapellus pereira, you may be aware about that the plant is having a potential antiviral against dengue. Cipla is actually about to patent one molecule from that. Adadoda is widely studied by Chinese as well as many Southeast Asian countries, like in Malay medicine, in Indonesian medicine, as well as in Chinese system of medicine. They are using Andrographis paniculata for many viral diseases, as well as Adadoda vesica. And when we closely look into that, nearly Gingiber officinalis, Piperlangum, Syzygium aromaticum, and Trigia, we called it as Siruganjari, Trigia species, as well as Anacyclus pyrethrum, there is an Acragarum, and Terminalia chebula, Kadukai, and Plectronthus. Plectronthus is actually Katpuravalli, we say, that plant. And another thing is Costum. Costum is Sasuria lapa, as well as Corycurrent, Cyprus rotundus. All the 15 plants, when we compare individually, it either having anti-inflammatory or some, for example, Piperlangum in Thipili, it is having potential inhibition for many microbes, which is more relevant to the respiratory infection. So what we thought in the COVID management, the management of co-infection is very important. When we attack the virus,
the important thing due to the immune loss, other bacteria, because India-like countries, we have a lot of bacterial microbes which is available in the environment. It can attack, so that the death may be attributed not with the COVID virus, maybe because of the other co-infection. Like in a case of HIV, the co-infection of tuberculosis is actually dangerous in HIV. Same, these kind of discussion we made, as well as traditionally also, this Kabasura Kashayam is actually to improve the Pitta as well as to balance the Pitta. Both we have found. So that we selected the Kabasura Kudineer and asked the government to give the Kashayam for mainly for frontline health workers, mainly people who are in the containment zone or people who are in the facility quarantine, so that let the respiratory innate immune system get improved. And if suppose if suppose they are asymptomatic carriers, might be the virus may be inside. If we can able to improve the IgG level, so that he can able to fight the disease at least. So these kind of approach only we had selected the this Kabasura Kudineer. As another choice, we had selected the Nilavembu Kudineer. This is the science behind how we selected the Kabasura Kudineer. And in the recent last 2-3 week experiences, people who had taken the Kabasura Kudineer in the facility quarantine area, they are not turned into a positive people. Their primary, we had compared 2 packets within 15-20 kilometers difference, 2 packets. In one packet, 72 people with the same primary contact. Another one, 45 people with the same primary contact. Those about both team are in the facility quarantine with the government, so that they are in almost in a controlled atmosphere. Their diet is controlled. They are not taking any other medicine. In this 2 group, one group we had given continuously Kabasura Kudineer, and the group which had taken intervened with Kabasura Kudineer, no one turned into a positive people. And the people who are not taking the Kabasura Kudineer, 5 people turned into asymptomatic carriers. They become positive. And like that, we have 4-5 packets in Karur, in south of Tamil Nadu, everywhere. These are all the positive informations what we are getting. So now we are actually studying with the in the government medical colleges, government UN and GO, how we can be able to do a integrated research. So we are now trying with the 3 medical college with get a proper institutional ethical committee approval. So one group with regular intervention with like HCQS or azithromycin or other any medication, and another group along with that we want to give the Kabasura Kudineer. Another 3rd group exclusively as a Kabasura Kudineer. We want to do a cohort study as well as for a plain exploratory study, not an RCT. Exploratory study we were planned to do in the next phase. So this is the way what we are doing in the Tamil Nadu.
But that is really an amazing story. Probably I hear quite similar story from Dr. Mathai, from the story from Kerala. Okay, so how an attempt has been made to bring homeopathy as an adjuvant therapy, as you are talking about the Siddha medicine as an adjuvant therapy. So it's always essential for us to have this documentation part. I'm very happy to hear that.
Dr. Manjunath, I would like to tell another one point before going to that other, because I have to go a little early. I would like to emphasize one important point. Before integrating with allopathy, I would like to emphasize we must integrate Ayurveda, Unani, Siddha, Naturopathy, Yoga. All the 5 people, 6 people, we have almost the same philosophy, almost same kind of understanding about the Prabhanjam and understanding about the human body. Why not we integrate? Earlier in India, it is a traditional Indian medicine. Now, because of the operating purpose, the Ayush, the synonym is okay. But I strongly feel Ayush people should integrate. And Siddha physician and homeopath and Ayurvedic, all the people, we should integrate, and we have to take the best and complement each other so that we can have a clarion call to the Western community. That is my humble opinion.
No, certainly agree with you. The same discussion we had with Dr. Mathai and many other people for so long. And government is making its own efforts. I have to place on record the kind of promotion and the direction being given from the Vice Chairman of Niti Aayog, Rajiv Kumarji, to initiate integrative medicine, the whole process of integration, and bringing Ayush-based integration, which makes much more important much before we think about or talk about integrating it with allopathy, plays a much important role. I agree with you. And there are many people from Siddha medicine thanking the Rakesh Kumar ji and also Shivaraman ji for this wonderful participation, as well as the insights what you are given with respect to COVID-19. And also, many people would like to know about any take-home message with respect to immunity boosting. One simple thing everyone should do. Do you have any take-home message?
Yeah, the main thing for people, either in the COVID time as well as after the COVID, we are emphasizing from Siddha the basic Kalpa medicine. We all know the basic ginger. Ginger is very, very important. Ginger juice with amla, the bigger amla. Both in the modern science perspective as well as Siddha perspective, both the juices you can take 5 ml, 5 ml, each 5 ml with 150 ml warm water. You can add honey for little sweetening for the children, as well as honey is also having some protective action, so that drink can be taken every day. So this we are emphasizing with all our people. Another thing, the basal line consideration about the zinc, vitamin C and vitamin D from the modern Western science people. Fortunately, Indian traditional foods, Indian traditional pulses are having potent content of zinc as well as essential amino acid, which can promote the cell-mediated immunity. So, like common peanuts and cashews and all dals can be taken little more during this period. And we would like to add in every food, we have to add a little turmeric. So because turmeric has a wonderful studies, they had come from various papers about the management of cytokines. So now the word cytokine is the key in the COVID management. You should not go beyond. At the same time, appropriately, we have to give these cytokines. So in that point, turmeric is one of the best products. So we like to, we ask our patients and common people to add turmeric more in your diet. So that is another one important recommendation we are giving. Apart from that, we advise, according to the last 2018-19 recommendation by the WHO about Eat Lancet Commission, one paper had come. In that way, they clearly told we have to take 70 to 75% of vegetable and fruits in your diet, and only 25 to 30% from the cereals or any millet or any corn, wheat or rice or anything should be around 25%. So during this, at least in the lockdown period, we have to, because we are in right now in a controlled atmosphere. In the controlled atmosphere, practice that 75% of fruits, vegetable, even if you want to take meat or fish or thing, should be come in the 75%, and only in the 25% we have to take these rice and pulses and other things. In the rice also, in the other cereals also, try to take more of traditional millet, like pearl millet, foxtail millet, but then it will have some functional benefit. In the rice also, let you take red rice, black rice, brown rice, instead of polished to white rice. These also we are recommending to all the people, so that post-COVID period, the food practice will become another barrier against the reinfection, and that also contribute to improve your immune system. So the functional beverages, add on zinc and amino acids through the pulses, as well as traditional millet, traditional grains and rices. So we have to practice all these things in that. And apart from everything, we are also emphasizing about yoga. So everyone should do morning and evening pranayams. Particularly in Swaisa, we had came across a lot of paper about how pranayamas are improving your immune system. So always we insist our all people try to take all the functional food and nutraceutical, practice yoga regularly, follow the Eat Lancet Commission recommendation, so that we can it comprehensively help you to improve your immune system. This is the common recommendation, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Shivaraman. I know you have a hectic time. You have another meeting to attend.
Yeah,
but in such short time, you have given such a huge basket of knowledge to everybody. And not only just the knowledge, but also the tips to keep themselves up with their immunity. That's amazing. Thank you very much for sharing your time with us and giving all those tips as well as the opinion in taking this whole journey forward beyond COVID-19. Thank you very much, Dr. Shivaraman.
Thank you. Thank you, Ji.
So, is Dr. Gangadharan sir available with us now? Sir, namaste, welcome.
Namaskar, I'm sorry I got delayed.
No, you are doing...
I'm extremely sorry for that. There was another meeting with the minister suddenly arranged and they wanted me to be there.
Sir, with your rich knowledge, this is the time where you are needed everywhere. So there is no wonder why you are there in 3-4 places in the same time. But we are really grateful and privileged to get you a time for this webinar. And for our participants of the webinar, just I would like to give a brief introduction about Dr. G.G. Gangadharan sir. Dr. Gangadharan sir, very well known as GG. So he is the director of MS Ramaiah Indic Center for Ayurveda and Integrative Medicine, Bengaluru. He has completed, I particularly picked this, a 7.5-year Ayurveda Acharya medical program from the Madras University. Because, sir, today I see so many youngsters, those who are taking up BAMS, which is a 5.5-year medical program. They feel that around 2 years, 3 years is they are done with it. So truly, the meaning of Ayurveda cannot be picked so easily is what the message we get. And from such senior people like you, where the learning has to go on. It is not just a simple process. And sir also has a master's from McGill University in Canada. That too in management, and he has a PhD in Ayurveda from Pune. He started his career from the renowned Aryavaidya Pharmacy. So yet another name for traditional and classical Ayurveda. And he served at FRLHT, which is the well-known university here today, for reviving the traditional and the olden methodologies as well as therapies available in the olden days. And presently, he has created a state-of-the-art facility for Ayurveda and integrative medicine at MS Ramaiah. Sir, there was a discussion today, which now I can tell the audience that the idea of talking not about COVID, but about the what next after this nightmare was given by Dr. Gangadharan sir. So the basic question for you is, can you give us a narration from Ayurvedic perspective of the steps for recovery after a pandemic like this? So let us listen from Dr. Gangadharan sir.
Thank you for your patience and bearing with me my absence for some time because of other commitment which was unexpected. And extremely happy for your nice, fine introduction. It humbles me. Ayurveda, many of you know who have been joining this network, that Ayurveda is a science of dynamic equilibrium. It talks about the body's balance with the external universe and vice versa. And I would always say that man or the human being or living being is the replica of external universe. So anything that happens in the outside can affect your body and vice versa. So the post-COVID period, you have to look from this perspective. when we say that body not as an organ, body as a whole system which is connected to external universe, we have to plan, think, and follow what Ayurveda talks how to maintain this equilibrium, which is always dynamic. It is always trying to connect each other. You might have noticed Ayurveda gives two important advices. One is in the form of Dinacharya, second is in the form of Ritucharya. Ritucharya is a very unique contribution of Ayurveda. I don't think any health sciences in the past or present have thought about how the external universes changes at the micro and macro level, influences the body, and how that influence can be negated or nullified by adopting some corrections, which is in the form of lifestyle changes, in the form of purifications, in the form of dietary corrections, in the form of simple, humble aushadams, which are locally available. So you might have noticed in Ayurveda that yasya dasyastu yo jantu tasya rajavashadam. Every geographical area is blessed by nature such a way that things needed to that place, that area is made available in the local vicinity. You might have heard about a very new health jargon telling that eat from 100 kilometers of radius. Eat things which are available within it. It's a very important guidance, because we should, if once we start using local things, which is the most appropriate for you, that will be the right thing to regain. This is applicable to all the area. We say Ayurveda is a science of healing of a universal nature, not connected to India. Even though it has originated in India, it gives a very holistic perspective that how your local resources can be used to maintain your health. This has to be followed. That's why we have no a very single kind of a advice. We always, our advices are with one or two variations. And these variations are because of the nature of your body, the place where you stay, age of your chronological age, and the type of diseases you have gone through or you are prone to. So if you take into consideration, it becomes very simple. And in Ayurveda, there are something which are universally good. I'll just end my advice by giving that what are universally good. Everything has got its own places, but something they say that is universally good is in pulses, green gram, in fruits, grapes, in vegetables, white pumpkin, and in spices, pepper. Like that, each and every area, and in edible oil, ghee, and sesame oil, and in the rice variety, shali. So like that, we have got a group of things which are told to be universally good, can be used by every human being at whatever stage. Depending upon the condition of that person, we can make corrections so that the bioavailability is increased, any of the imbalance it can cause in the body can be corrected. That's why we use different kinds of spices, different kinds of processes. There is Saptahara Kalpana, Ashta Samskara of things. These are all the realm of expert physician. But in just to give you a perspective that every local area food habits has to be respected and followed if you want to have a healthy life even after. We also said that other way of looking at it is whatever your grandmother used to eat, you just think whether that this is being consumed by my grandmother, that may be the right thing for you. This is in nutshell. And we also said that timely eating and quantity of eating, that also is become very important thing in maintaining health. I think this is in very, very briefly to give you an idea about how Ayurveda look at this area. If there is any specific question, I will be happy to address that. I cannot hear you.
Yes. Sir, you actually touched upon a very vital and important area. I also wanted to bring it to your notice that today we have so many people, they are principals of many Ayurveda, naturopathy colleges, homeopathy colleges. So they were all posing many questions like the role of naturopathy in COVID management, etc. So in one nutshell, you have answered both, bringing Dinacharya and Rutucharya. And also, we have two problems here. One is the problem of COVID and the people who are suffering because of COVID. On the other side, all other individuals who are just staying, maintaining social distancing and others. So this is the population. What I strongly feel is that the Dinacharya and Rutucharya are much more important in these individuals to give a direction for a healthy and life for them for future. Because I know for sure that there are so many individuals during this lockdown thing, they wake up very late, okay? And their eating habits are very crazy. And the sleeping habits are thoroughly disturbed. So keeping all this in mind, such well-defined disciplines given both in Ayurveda, naturopathy, etc., probably should come very handy for us. There was also another, there are a series of questions for you, Sir Gigi, sir. But meanwhile, I want to pose one question which has been asked to Dr. Isaac Mathai, talking about particularly about homeopathy and the success story from Kerala. So out of all these different stories from different states, Kerala appears to be following a different trajectory. So do you have anything to attribute that positive outcome to homeopathy, Dr. Isaac Mathai?
Yes, of course, yes. And it is not only Kerala. Kerala is the highest concentration of homeopathic practitioners and widely available all over, along with Ayurveda and allopathy and other systems also, yoga and naturopathy also. In homeopathy, actually, Government of India took a very fast, homeopathic department took a very fast decision to announce the immune boosting medicine, considering hundreds of medicines are there, one medicine. There are others are using some other medicine around the world, but that's okay because it's not a specific medicine for COVID, but it is for arsenic alb 30, which is widely used now in India. Millions of people are using it. In Kerala, in early stage itself, they started to use it. But there's no study as of now to show that yes, it is done wonders or not. But generally, Kerala, by other lifestyle practices and everything, Kerala is in a lucky state. But talking about homeopathy, we have given medicines for at least about few thousand people from India and abroad. And as of now, nobody is reported that even if those who are staying, that's an interesting case of one student is taking the medicine in London along with the two other students. That two other students got COVID, proper COVID condition, but they didn't get it complicated. But this girl was taking our medicine and then she never developed anything. That's a very good case to show that. Anyway, this is the immune boosting. So homeopathic medicines that and Bryonia was talking about, several other medicines are talking about immune boosting medicines. And a positive case also, there are medicines used. So it is a positive effect. So Kerala is a good model. Now I have inquiries from even from Germany where homeopathy started. The doctors are talking to me about the Indian success stories, not only Kerala, Indian success story on homeopathy. So even some of the European government is asking for details and some African government is asking for details. So there's a scope for that. But along with homeopathy, I talk not only for homeopathy, I talk about the Ayurvedic interventions and other systems interventions and say that it has to go together. And even if I'm not an Ayurveda doctor, but our Prime Minister is not an Ayurveda doctor, but I have seen that he has given the best prescription for everybody to take Chyawanprash and in the other naturopathic and the Siddha Unani ideas together. So that is everybody can practice it. So combination, that's what I believe. It is not one remedy which is going to produce everything unless you do the Dinacharya, unless you do the proper lifestyle. Whatever the medicine you take, whether it's homeopathy, allopathy, Ayurveda, it is not going to, because that again we are going on a disease-oriented approach. That's why I said that we should be health-oriented approach. I was very happy that Dr. earlier Shivaraman was talking about the prescription of Amala and ginger. This is what I am doing myself and I am telling my patients all along and training them. I would add that beyond homeopathy, whether we could recommend the Ayush and the Prime Minister's intervention, this type of drink should be a part of every child. Like yoga breathing, they are learning from a school, to use that in everyday basis. So you don't worry about the viruses, bacteria, and their lack of losing school days because of they are getting sick. That is India should do. So we should take it forward beyond COVID. How to maintain our immune system, how to maintain our lifestyle, or people to take Chyawanprash, what all the good things we can do at home and acquire that. That should be our focus beyond COVID. So, and also Dr. Sriram mentioned about that, Dr. Gangadharan ji also focusing on now how to integrate different systems. I completely agree. The different systems of medicine, first of all, among I should work together. I feel the problem is in our mental block among the practitioners of, not the patients, practitioners of Ayush systems. They have a mental block, not the patients. And they have a more mental block to use other systems together than even allopathic doctors have a mental block to take homeopathy or Ayurvedic medicines together. So we have to change our mindset, and we have to open up and work together with all of us because it's a common cause and common purpose. So beyond COVID is not about one bacteria or virus. It is what India can give and what we can give to Indian people first and convince them first that this is a good thing. And now everybody is running around trying to take Amala. People are encouraging me. We have a few acres of Amala, but at the moment there is only 1 or 2 trees. So everybody on Amala now. I said, this is not the time to. That's again, I'm sure that Dr. Gangadhar, you agree that it should be seasonal. So you drink Amala juice when there's an Amala season. And you use that on a seasonal basis, then that will take care of you on a long-term basis. Definitely, we should be open towards new knowledge about vitamin D. Vitamin D is a major factor, and vitamin C is also supposed to support, but vitamin D. But especially my wife, she did a PhD on vitamin D. We believe that there's a misconception that India, we have sunlight, vitamin D is there. No. Even we have done studied on garden workers. Their vitamin D is not processed by even sitting in the sunlight. We don't know what is the mechanism behind it, liver metabolism or something. So we should generally add on either food, number one option. Beyond food, this type of vitamin should be going in. That's also part of our policy in the future.
Yeah, certainly we agree with you that integration should be the beginning, starting point as well as the end point. See, there is nothing in between. So where we have to work together, bringing the strengths of each system to support the weaknesses, if at all, if there is any weakness. So probably that's where this whole process is supporting us. And Dr. Gangadharan has been a role model for creating this kind of an integrative methodologies. With a situation like COVID, and when people are all bothered about what is happening at present, sir, there were lots of questions asked in the beginning that is COVID the tip of an iceberg? Okay, so is it just what we are seeing as one of the spark? Probably there are many more to come like this. This is one question which was asked. And second one, knowing that Ayush systems can do a lot of good in a condition like COVID, is it regulatory restrictions which has made Ayush systems to miss this opportunity to really deliver when there was something to deliver? This was the second question. And the third one was, have we learned our lessons enough? So is there something which is very vital to us as a point of lesson learned from this whole episode? So we wanted to hear from you, giving the futuristic direction, looking at the serious issues like, is it the tip of an iceberg? Dr. Gangadharan, sir.
Thank you, Manjunatha, doctor. Now, I think, first of all, Ayurveda, Ayurveda has foreseen this situation. And in one of the, in Ashtanga Hridaya, it says that, Vigara nama akushalo, na jihriyal kadajana, nahi sarva vigarana namadosti dhruvasidi. And Purana vililiyande navanyaya. So there is a concept in Ayurveda that when the changing time, the disease characteristics, the type of diseases, the diseases will keep on changing it. And whatever diseases changes, new diseases come. That disease also we have divided into two types. One is a Nija, which is due to the internal metabolic disorders, chronic metabolic disorders, or functional disease or structural deformities inside. Second one is Agandu, which comes from the outside world, which can be a trauma, which can be an infection, which can be any kind of aberrations from the outside, which causes a kind of imbalance in the body. It becomes like a Nija disease after entering the body. And Aaron also says that thousands of, it is not thousand, I have recently written an article on COVID, and there are millions and millions of microorganisms in the body. And in Sushra, it clearly said that some of the microorganisms are useful for the body, should not be eliminated. There are some microorganisms which are not good for the body, which has to be eliminated. So these kind of concepts are very there. So when you ask this, now there is also hypothesis going that this coronavirus is a human creation. It came out of mistake from the laboratory situation. It was man-made. There was some political reasons for this. All those things are happening. And as on today, we say that there are 10 mutations already happened to the corona, which started in October or sometime in Wuhan. Till today, it has 10 mutations has been happening. So the organism will keep on changing, and its mechanism, the pharmacodynamics of that in the body also keep changing. But Ayurveda has got a very holistic approach to it, that whatever is the imbalance, without deranging the Vata, Pitta, Kapha, the functional units of the body, nothing can happen to the body. So all the effort of Ayurveda is to make sure that your external enemy does not become successful in attacking and invading your body. So make your body strong than correcting the external illness, which is infinite, which is not humanly possible also. That's why some people are living in situation. You and me are breathing in tubercle bacilli every day and out, but we are not getting, because we are able to withhold and assimilate and make it neutralize in the body, don't multiply to the extent of which causing this. So this tip of the iceberg question can be answered, that there will be this kind of occurrence today. Just now I was talking to this ministry discussion, I was telling, this is come, now we have got a knee-jerk reaction. After 6 months, another may come. There was a series of such viral invasion to the thing. This became pandemic, others didn't become that kind of thing, but it will come. So our approach from our paradigm of science should be how you can make body healthy enough to fight against this kind of invasion. That is what we have to say. Second question is that today, I think it is the first time in the post-independent India, we got such a supportive ministry or a governance, which are open for a system like Ayurveda and other indigenous system with a nationalistic perspective. So even now, I am part of I'm chairing one of the clinical research group of task force by our ministry. We are given the report. So there are ample scope is there. But I think internally the Ayurveda community has to grow further to make use of these opportunities and act upon. One of the reasons we are not successful to act upon is that the infrastructure made available, the kind of support system we have is very, very, very meager. I cannot count even my finger 10 people who can devote their 10 years of time for research on this, any of the area. Because everyone is committed to their own things, small, petty things and their needs. So you see any research scenario in a US situation, someone is given a task of 20 years without checking anything, and they are given full support. In India, including CCRIS or All India Institute of Medical Ayurveda Science, there is no such a situation to do this kind of research. We need institutions of IIT caliber who has got a long-term mandate with the short-term deliverables, with 5-year deliverables, 3-year deliverables, but for long-term mission, with a person which has got a great vision of taking this Ayurveda to the next level. That kind of things are not happening, not even thinking. Even we are not thinking about more than 1,500 crore budget for Ayush system. That is our level of thinking. Whereas a small unit in NIH spent 100 times more than that. So this regulation, all those things are depending upon how you mainstream it, how you put the system into play, then only we can come to mainstream. I think the most important thing for India today is that strengthening the hands of clinicians in this country, support them, give them 2, 3 PhDs around them, let them do their work, give them resources, document their work, let the PhD person maybe documenting, make evidence what they are doing, get it published in good international level journal, then people come to you, they will be in queue rather than we are going and begging them, please accept us. There is no need. Already we have got evidence, very good clinicians, but their documents are not validated because of the method in which they are documenting. So if you have got enough centers, at least 50 centers in the country, around 50 good physicians who is supported for 5-year time, just document their cases in a format which is acceptable for a journal of international repute. That becomes thing. Third question is that whether we are making use of the present situation. I think we have to yet to work more hard. We are not in a very strong, we are not a strong house today. So we have to come together, we have to make our vision statement, what we want to do with Ayurveda. Apart from, not only Ayurveda, when I say to be in tune with what Dr. Mathai told, all the indigenous system, Ayush system, which are in this soil for so many years, can you make use of it and make? I have been promoting a concept of single disease centers. Just allow a physician to treat only diabetes. Let him be completely ignorant about everything. Let him not touch RA case. Let him not touch OA case. But let him become master in diabetes management using Ayush system. That become a very great institution. Such things are nowhere in India. And what is happening today is some physicians, poor people, practicing somewhere. So some people are getting benefited. People are coming to Ayurveda. That situation should change. And one of the other big problem I face today is the good medicines, the classical preparations, which are the backbone of Ayurveda practice. So we have got more than 8,000 industries. We should select them. There are small scale MSME sector industries. Government of India should declare them as heritage industry. They should support out of the way, give them whatever support they want. Because these small units can serve that local area with good preparation as told in Ayurvedic classics. So we'll get good quality of Ashwagandha, we'll get good quality of the Dasamulara, we get good quality of Chavanapras made in that area. So we need hundreds of such institutions which will serve, give this good medicine needed. Then proprietary medicine can be there. I don't negate the role of them. That is there. But let them also grow through research, through documentation, by more integrative methods. But this too, if you are done, Ayurveda will grow like anything.
I think there can't be much comprehensive answer we could have got from you than this, because you have touched upon all the areas which needs that kind of an attention. Number one, even starting from education, then clinical practice, then industry, then of course regulatory. So probably these are different areas where we need this kind of an attention which can help us to actually realign ourselves, or rather align ourselves for the requirement and the need for the conditions and situations like this. Particularly today, it was a wonderful 1.5 hours of deliberations, understanding the actual beneficial effects on one side and roadmaps on the other side, and how we can actually bring in the integration on the third front, and the need for evidence-based approach on the fourth front. All of them were spoken so well by our experts and panelists, and I'm sure the audience couldn't have expected any better than these discussions for today, and many more to come after this webinar. We are coming to the last part of this webinar. We have to close by 6:30. So I have to place on record the amazing inputs given by all the three panelists, Dr. Isaac Mathai, not just focusing on homeopathy, but bringing the complete essence of integrative medicine. Dr. Shivaraman, generally Siddha medicine and Ayurveda are somewhere people connect them and feel that they are quite similar. But probably there are some things which are special in Siddha medicine, which were brought out by Dr. Shivaraman here today. And of course, as always, the senior most person, Professor G.G. Gangadharanji, summing it up in such a nice way, whereby we got the take-home messages as well, and we got that knowledge base as well. It was an amazing 1.5 hours. I'm sure all of you have thoroughly enjoyed it. On behalf of this webinar team, I thank all the panelists, and I have to request Rakesh Kumarji, who is the chairman of the India Exposition Mart, to give his very few concluding remarks to close the webinar.
Thank you very much, Dr. Manjunath. Today's iRog webinar has had panelists with a very vast experience. Dr. Gangadharanji, who despite a very, very busy schedule, and he was with us today. And in fact, his session is total brainstorming session. We totally agree with him that the government should declare this as a heritage industry. Sir, you have really given a lot to industry. You are very well-wisher of our Ayurveda Expo also. We are really very thankful to you for spending your time today. Dr. Mathai, who is from the homeopathy and a leader in the field of the holistic medicine, has also given us a lot of new ideas, and also his deliberations were very useful for the audience. The audience also took part very actively, because a lot of questions were posted on the Q&A the sessions. The Mr. Dr. Shivaraman, who was to go a bit early, but in fact in his address, he has contributed a lot and very, very much in detail. I would like to just explain here that the idea of Ayurveda Expo, a world assembly on Ayurveda, Yoga and Naturopathy, was conceived by Padam Shri Guruji, Dr. H.R. Nagendraji, and executed at IML at the international level to benefit the mankind under his blessing and guidance. So we convey our thanks to Guruji also on this occasion. And I once again thank Dr. Manjunath, who is the head of the National Research Laboratory at S. Vyasa, because he has not given his introduction as such. And he is also a member of the Ayurveda Steering Committee. Thanks to you, Manjunathji, the way you have concluded it, the way you have given all the questions. And in fact, QA, those are posted, you have almost already addressed more than 50% of the QA through your own questionnaire to the panelists. And also I thank my team, Praveen Prabhakar, my colleague, Niranjan, Tushar, and other colleagues who have been able to make it possible, a very successful program. Thank you very much. We will continue this webinar series with the help of Dr. Manjunath and SS Vyasa. Thank you very much again, and thank you very much, Dr. Gangadharanji. Thanks.
Thank you, Rakeshji. Thank you all of panelists. Thank you, Dr. Mathai, Praveen, and Manjunath. Namaskar.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.